Here's the breaking news for you. Remember, people were upset that Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. Well, President Biden pardons his family on last day in office. Why is he doing that? Is it unprecedented? Yeah, it is unusual, but it's also because of the unprecedented, unusual administration that we have coming in, and he cannot trust his family in the hands of Donald Trump's Justice Department. What do you think about it? Let me know in the chat.
Did you accept your pardon, and would you advise your staff to accept theirs?
Well, I'm not even sure that's part of the process. I'm trying to connect up with a lawyer to figure out whether you accept or reject a pardon, because one interpretation I found from some cases is that a pardon is like an executive order or a legislative enactment. It's just public law, and so you don't have the choice whether or not to accept it or reject it. I know there's some contrary authority, so I'm going to try to figure that out and figure out, what to do. I have felt, as I've said for, many weeks about this now, that we are safe with the speech and debate clause, which protects us against both federal and state criminal prosecution as well as civil lawsuits. This gives us obviously an added fortification against any efforts by Trump and his administration to do what they've been talking about with Liz Cheney and with Benny Thompson, which is, they've been concocting this whole theory about how Liz Cheney somehow suborned perjury or interfered with the right to counsel, which is complete nonsense and has been refuted and debunked by the Democrats on the House Administration Committee. But they've obviously been trying to torture out some reason to try to prosecute people, and President Biden basically put it to bed.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, it seems that your former president, that dude that y'all was so aligned with, that dude that y'all believed in, that dude that y'all put your faith in, Joseph Robinette Biden, seems like he was a traitor to this country, in my opinion. And I'm going to put it out there, and I got to say in my opinion because, well, first of all, this is an opinion show. I assume y'all tune in to see what I think about things, and we just going to leave it at that. But I'm well researched. I followed this man for decades. And the years that I didn't pay attention to him, I went back and researched to find out what he was doing back when I was a child. And he was involved in politics since the age of 29. This man has never had a real job, y'all. He's been a grifter all his life. From the age of 29, he became a public servant and began his public grift from the American citizen, the American taxpayer. And here we are in 2025. Whew. Fresh off this 2024 election, and Joe Biden has pardoned his entire family. Now, let me say this. It feels good to be right. It really does. But right is only based on information that you have researched. Yeah, I'm only right on things like this because I've done the work. I've looked into things and I understand what's going on in the background. When I saw that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden, I said, okay. We understand what's going on here. He's going to pardon everyone in his family. And people who were on the left that I talked to on a regular basis said, no, you can't justify that. You can't assume that. You can't cast those aspersions on Joe Biden just because he pardoned Hunter. That's his son. His crackhead son. His crack smoking son. By his own revelation. If he gonna pardon his crack-smoking son, well, he definitely gonna pardon the other people in his family who were working with that said crack-smoking son, who was shaking down foreign governments for money to get access to Joe Biden while he was vice president under Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama. Y'all think that things stopped when Joe Biden became president all of a sudden? If he would be so dastardly, if he would be so low down and dirty as to employ his child, because he know it would be illegal if he took direct money from foreign governments. But if my son takes it, If my brother takes it, if my sister takes it, oh, well, that's a different situation. And they can just pass things along to me. Y'all, we as American citizens, as American voters, have been neglectful of some of these things that have been going on in government for some time. Our government has been corrupt for a very long time. And that's why I am so grateful for the presidency of Donald Trump, the first presidency, because it exposed some things in government that people weren't paying attention to. It exposed us to how crooked and how dastardly the federal government is in this country. It woke some people up. And as you can see, the swamp rose up and said, hey, we are not going to let you drain the swamp. This is how we make our living. This is how we are enriched. Not only ourselves, but our family members, future generations of our families. We create generational wealth on the backs of the taxpayers of this country. Well, thank goodness that Donald Trump's first administration woke us up to some things. Yeah, they cheated in 2020. We can say that now on them folks' platform. There was a while where we couldn't say those types of things. We couldn't even tell the truth on this internet. But here we are in 2025, just 2 days into the new administration, and we can proclaim the truth. Joe Biden came out during Donald Trump's inauguration speech and pardoned his family members, his siblings. He took a defensive posture. And those of us who know, who research these things and follow these things, you know, you ain't giving no pardon to nobody who you don't feel is guilty because they don't need one. Investigate them all you want. You're not going to find anything. Joe Biden has pardoned his family, his siblings, because he knows that they are guilty. He knows that they have taken international money and funneled it directly to him. Well, these preemptive pardons, these pardons that go back decades and reach off into the future, I hope that they are challenged in court with this conservative SCOTUS. And I hope they rule on this in a way that is beneficial to America. We trying to make America great, y'all. Get with the program. I hope they rule in such a way that these people can be investigated, that these preemptive pardons are nullified, such that people can really dig in and investigate, bring these people before a court, before a Congress that seeks justice, because this man, I don't know that we've had a president so dastardly, so devious, so treasonous to this country. And here we are, y'all, in 2025 with people who want to cling to this man as if he was some kind of bastion of righteousness, him and Kamala Harris. No, these people were criminals. These people were treasonous, in my opinion. They betrayed this country and they should be held accountable. He should not be able to hide himself or his family members behind these preemptive presidential pardons. And now people who stood by his side want to sit up and say, oh, well, I'm not sure now. I got to seek legal counsel like Jamie Raskin and say, oh, I don't know. Let me ask a few questions. Let me talk to a few people before I give you a solid answer because I'm not so sure what's going on. Well, you were certainly sure during the Trump administration. Now, all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on now that he has issued you a pardon. Now that he has issued a pardon to the entire J6 committee. We know what a sham that was, but he's given you, Raskin, a pardon. He's given Liz Cheney a pardon. Oh, he seems to be in a protective posture, and he didn't release it ahead of time. He released it when Donald Trump was up giving his speech. Donald Trump couldn't even respond. He said, I'm going to do this not only at the 11th hour, but 11th hour and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. I'm going to drop it at the last second. So can't nobody do nothing about it. America don't even have a chance to respond. Well, maybe America has a response in this new term. of Donald Trump. Maybe we can challenge these things in court. Maybe, just maybe, the intent of our forefathers of the pardon power was not to have presidents protect their family from treasonous acts. I hope they investigate it. I hope they figure it out. I hope the court rules on it in a way that is beneficial to America, because the only thing that these leftists understand is retribution. Y'all want to call it revenge? I call it fairness. You shouldn't be able to do all of these criminal acts, cast all these aspersions upon your political enemies, and then hide behind a presidential pardon at the end of the day. No, that ain't what America is. That ain't what we're about. I hope somebody blows that whole scheme up. I hope we are able to find a way to pierce that veil and persecute and prosecute Joe Biden, his dirty wife that put him up to being a president, knowing that he was demented, and his entire family that supported this whole criminal empire.
A Fox News alert. The Department of Justice has released special counsel David Weiss's scathing report on Hunter Biden.
In it, Weiss defends his probe that found that the president's son made millions of dollars off his last name and political connection, then failed to pay his fair share of taxes.
Peter Doocy joins us live from the White House with the latest. Hey, Peter.
And a look at recent history, we remember that the heart of President Biden's pardon of his son was that he accused the special counsel, David Weiss, of singling Hunter Biden out. Now, David Weiss is saying that the president was wrong to say that. A quote from last night's report: other presidents have pardoned family members, but in doing so, none have taken the occasion as an opportunity to malign the public servants at the Department of Justice based solely on false accusations. The biggest problem the special counsel Weiss has with Hunter is that he didn't pay $1.4 million in taxes over a 5-year stretch. Weiss says those are not inconsequential tax violations, and that Mr. Biden made his money by using his last name and connections to secure lucrative business opportunities, such as a board seat at a Ukrainian industrial conglomerate, Burisma Holdings Limited, and a joint venture with individuals associated with a Chinese energy conglomerate. He negotiated and executed contracts and agreements that paid him millions of dollars for limited work. The Hunter legal team is pushing back. Late last night, they told us Mr. Weiss conveniently omits his proposal to resolve this investigation in 2023 with a pair of misdemeanors and a diverted gun charge recommended by career prosecutors. Mr. Weiss also fails to explain why he reneged on his own agreement, a reversal that came at the 11th hour in court as he and his office faced blistering attacks from Republicans, and his then filing unprecedented charges for someone with no aggravated gun factors who had paid his taxes in full years before the charges were filed. President Biden came here to the White House almost 4 years to the day, promising to restore faith in institutions. Now this special counsel is saying that President Biden's actions have undermined faith in institutions. Back to you.
Well, now, don't we find it interesting that Attorney Weiss would make a statement, as he has, coming out against the Biden crime family, allegedly? Well, not allegedly. They've been convicted of crimes. Hunter Biden was convicted. And that's why I think that Hunter Biden is the only person in this family where a pardon should stand, because he was tried, he was convicted before a jury of his peers, and then he was then pardoned by the president of those crimes after conviction. But we're talking about a situation where Joe Biden is pardoning folks who ain't never been charged, who haven't been adequately investigated because your attorney general wouldn't do the work. Well, we got a new AG now. At least she's on the cusp of being confirmed. She's going to investigate. She's going to do the work that we want her to do. Shouldn't we be encouraged, y'all, that these investigations will be conducted in accordance with law? We got a new regime in place. We got a new president in place. We know that the AG is going to act within the law. And she's not going to protect the criminals. She's going to follow the law wherever it leads. Law and the facts. Well, I feel good about that. But we know that Joe Biden is putting up a shield for himself and his family. against this new attorney general and DOJ that's going to take power, and the new FBI. Let's not forget that Kash Patel is waiting in the wings. They seem like they want to hold back on Kash. They know we've seen in the attorney general confirmation hearings, they want Kash's head. They bringing Kash up in the hearing for Pam Bondi. And she like, look, if you want to talk about Kash, then you need to go ask Kash. Don't talk to me about Kash. That ain't what we're here for today. All right, we get it. We thank you, sis, for standing on business. They didn't have nothing to own you, so they had to try to dig something else up. We understand where they're going. But here we are, and this prosecutor who's supposed to represent the people in Delaware, but sat on his hands and let the statute of limitations expire on Hunter Biden on the worst charges. Well, here he is trying to make a statement, trying to save his own hide after he tried to pull some shenanigans on the court and got busted out in federal court, y'all. Judge said, I ain't signing off on this foolishness y'all brought before me. No, we ain't doing this. Have you ever done this before? The court asked. He said, no. Have you ever tried to pull these shenanigans before in a court of law? The judge asked. He said, no. Well, you ain't finna do it today. I'm not signing this. And then they had to go back and rebuild their whole case. They took a whole new posture and said, okay, well, now the jig is up. We are caught with our hand in the cookie jar. We are caught with chocolate around our mouth. They know we've been digging in the cookie jar. We got to recalibrate. We got to rebuild. We got to reformulate our plan. They said, okay, well, now we got to prosecute Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was put before a jury and they was like, guilty. Straight up, guilty. Went out to California to face tax evasion charges, and he pled guilty. You know why? Because he knew his daddy was going to save him. And he did, with an early pardon. But based on that pardon, I knew, y'all. You just got to read the writing on the wall. I knew he was going to pardon everybody else, even though he was lying before the public. And cringe Jean-Pierre got before y'all every day at her press conferences and lied to y'all. She stood flat-footed and lied to the American people. She knew she was lying. She didn't care. Girl tried to say on social media she was some kind of legend. Girl, you are the worst press secretary we have seen in my lifetime. I need you to take that and stand on that. You are terrible at your job. But she stood on the lie. She told a lie for her president. She was a loyal soldier. She got out there. She stood on it. She said it. Joe Biden is not going to pardon Hunter. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And when he did it, I knew everybody else was going to get a pardon. And here we are, y'all. Donald Trump ain't been in office 48 hours. And we are dealing with the backlash of what Joe Biden has wrought. This devilish president, this dastardly president, this demented president, the worst in my lifetime, maybe the worst of all time. Well, we know these pardons are an admission of guilt. If you're going to pardon your son, you know your son was doing dirt. Why do you know? Because you took your son overseas. You flew him on your vice presidential plane. Air Force 2 is what they call it, right? You took him overseas. You introduced him to foreign dignitaries and you said, hey, I can't take the bag legally in America, but I'm the vice president. I'm here to collect that money. You give it to my son. He's the bag man for the family. Yeah, you took him to Romania and he got some money there. Yeah, you took him to Russia and he got some money there. Yeah, you took him to Ukraine and he got some money there. Well, we understand what's going on, Joe Biden. These pardons are an admission of guilt not only for Hunter Biden, but for every member of your family. Congressman Comer uncovered some electronic wires from overseas that even went to your grandkids. So I suggest y'all, based on the report that we got on the latest issue of pardons, Joe Biden, on his way out, pardoned his siblings. He pardoned his kids. But there is a report that says that his grandkids got wires from overseas. Why would Joe Biden's grandchildren receive wires from foreign entities? I suggest y'all investigate. You may just have to go a little layer deeper. Okay, you can't be surface dwellers. Peel back a few layers of the onion. Go a little deeper. Joe Biden just announced on television the other day. He was in Southern California, supposedly observing the fire damage in LA. And he said, oh, well, I'm a great grandfather. Bro, what that got to do with the fires? What is Joe Biden talking about? Well, y'all, you understand now. You've seen it with your own eyes. Joe Biden is no longer with us. And he ain't been with us since 2020. He should have never won the election. Okay. Joe Biden said, hey, I know y'all having fires. I know y'all have lost everything you've valued. Everything you've ever cared about is gone. It's in ashes. But I'm a great grandfather. Well, how about we investigate your great-grandchild just to make sure that little baby ain't took no wires from Romania, Russia, or Ukraine in this kickback scheme y'all have set up in the previous administration.
We have some breaking news we want to share related to all this. President Biden pardoning his family members minutes before President-elect Trump is sworn in. I want to go to our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. Laura, walk us through it.
Yeah, Lester, a rare and sweeping pardon here from the president in just his final moments while he still occupies that office, pardoning all of his living siblings and their spouses, including James Biden, Sarah Biden, Valerie Owens Biden, his sister, her husband, John T. Owens, and his brother, Francis Biden. Now, Lester, none of these people have been charged with crimes, but he says he's doing this because there is partisan politics here, obviously referring to the president-elect who is set to take office just minutes from now, Lester. Again, he's saying he's doing this as a preemptive pardon, something we have seen, something sweeping but very rare, Lester.
And Laura, none of this is reversible. The next president, Trump, can't reverse this.
No, he can't, Lester. These are binding. They have the force of law. Courts recognize them. But we should note it doesn't stop Congress from investigating. And they have pledged specifically to come after James Biden, Lester.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thanks very much. We'll talk more on that, but let's rejoin.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime, who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
I imagine if he decides to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his family members that pardons are a major obsession with him.
With these sweeping pardons that President Biden, former President Biden now, is giving to his immediate family. Preemptive pardons for his brothers, Frank and Jimmy, to his sister, Valerie, and then to, I think, a couple in-laws.
Their spouses, yeah.
And that, to a lot of people, this did not go through the regular pardon attorney, the pardon process. And Biden in 2020, when I interviewed him right after he'd been elected, had some very harsh things to say about the idea of Trump giving preemptive pardons to his family members. He said it would set a horrible precedent. Now, Trump didn't do it. Joe Biden did. And we can come back to that subject later in the day.
That got a pardon today? Did they pardon Jack Smith? Did you know that Biden, while I was making my speech, pardoned his whole family? The brother, The whole deal was pardon. Can you imagine that? While I was making my speech, did everybody hear my speech? Did you like my speech? Thank you. I mean, the only thing wrong with it is I had a lot of tough things to say, and I have some great people that work for me. Sir, this is such a great speech. It's so unifying. Don't talk about Biden with his pardons of his family. We want a unified country. They said, don't talk about the J6 hostages that you're going to be releasing today.
And there you have it, y'all. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, all of them Bidens, fake Dr. Jill Biden, everybody should be tarred and feathered in the town square, dragged through the streets and highways and byways of America, because this is the most traitorous, treasonous president, in my opinion, that I have seen in my lifetime, perhaps ever. Seems like he might get away with it. I hope Pam Bondi get in there and do her thing and continue to investigate, continue to overturn some stones. I hope that state attorney generals get involved, because these federal pardons only cover federal crimes. If these states get involved, y'all, this is where it counts. This is where the rubber meets the road. Get some of these state attorney generals to file charges against these folks where they can make real investigative strides and uncover some things to be revealed for the American people. Y'all, let me know what you think about this circumstance where Joe Biden at the last second pardoned everyone in his family so that you can't get no get back. They are immune from you and your prosecutions. We don't care what you have to say. We don't care what you think about our activities. We have stolen money. We have pimped out America. We have engaged in espionage, allegedly. And here we are, frolicking off into the sunset, never to be prosecuted or held accountable for our actions. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think about this foolishness. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.